because I was so afraid of failing before I even got to where I was going. You know, I figured it was just better if I quit before somebody could say, "Oh, you failed at that too." Yeah. And I thought that was just the way it was supposed to be. It wasn't until God showed me that I cannot fulfill my destiny if I continue that way, that I've got to give it to Him and realize that I can't do it, but He can.
Our relationship and our marriage, you know, and a big thing is the pants. Who wears the pants, you know, and that's always been in my family something that more the women have kind of taken over. They didn't want to let the men, you know, control them. And so me, you know, I always saw that and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen in my marriage, you know, my family. I'm going to wear the pants. And that's always been a big thing.
What happens when fathers take the mic?
Generational chains break.
And legacy begins.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sadie, and this is my mom, Lois, and welcome to She Got It From Her Mom podcast. Today, we have another fun episode. Today, we have my husband, Andrew, and my father, Mike Garcia.
And we are so excited that you guys are here to join us. Happy Thanksgiving, or actually late Thanksgiving, because this episode is coming out after Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys had a fabulous Thanksgiving with your family, no matter how it looked, if it was with friends and family, or family that were hard, or people that you didn't get along with. But relax, take a break, and come join the conversation.
So hopefully everybody's rested with this, because usually a lot of the strongholds that people have dealt with come from the families that we've met with over Thanksgiving. They don't come from them, but they stem from generations past, the different strongholds and stuff. So being that this is after that gathering, that's a little bit more difficult. It would have been better to have this before that, but hopefully everybody's still good and calm, and nerves are not there, and doors that slam shut and open whenever everybody's gathered together didn't happen.
We have very interesting family get-togethers, and no doors are ever slammed. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I thought we should start this. So you guys are going to be married 25 years in December. That's like literally like 3 weeks.
I know.
Or something.
That's crazy.
Oh, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
25 years, man. And then for us, we're like 5 years. I'm just playing.
25?
I'm just playing. But I'm just saying, so Dad, I was thinking, so early in like our, you know, younger years of Strongholds, as like maybe some direction for what he goes through as being 5 years, like what would be something that you could bring up or like shed light, especially for young fathers watching this as well, that would be something that you would give, or a stronghold or some sort of direction you would give as far as this goes on strongholds?
That one's kind of a tough one, because I think there was a lot of stuff that I was unsure of back then as far as strongholds goes. And I mean, nobody really gets trained on how to be a dad, how to be a good dad and not mess up your kids. Or, you know, and it's hard because, you know, now that you guys are all older, you know, you see your lives and you guys are great. You know, you guys are all great kids, and it's like, how the heck did we do that? You know, how did this, because you know, we're there in those times, and it's like, you know, I know the crap that we dealt with and the struggles that we had and all this stuff, and with you guys, and it's like, it's just insane. I mean, I know God totally had His hand on our whole family the whole time, and there's proof, there's evidence of that, you know. And I think that's, sorry, spitting. I think that it was just God's grace that kind of pulled us through all that, you know, stuff whenever you guys were kids with me a lot of the time. I mean, like I was saying in the last podcast, you know, I've been a Christian for 26 years, 25 and a half years.
time.
And I mean, I grew
Sounds
up.
like a long time.
I grew up in church, with my parents and stuff like that, but learned a lot of different stuff, being with your mom, and we kind of went our own way, with that kind of stuff, and I mean, we've always loved God, and we've always, tried to keep God the center of our marriage, of our family, and so I think, even though we've had our screw ups in life with our own decisions and stuff that we've done that we regret, that we, just different things, that, God was still there, and God still kept his hand on everything. And I think that's the biggest part of helping, with you guys, raising you guys and stuff. Like I was saying, I wish I knew more about how to deal with strongholds and how to get rid of this stuff when I was younger. Now, like I said, I've heard about it, strongholds and generational curses and stuff like that, but it wasn't really something that I thought that we could deal with and get rid of. Just thought that it was something that people had to deal with in life. And so, back then it was more of a, how do we help these guys cope with what they're going to deal with in life? And I think God had his hand on that too, with certain things, and it's tough not knowing how to be a dad, or knowing how to be the leader of your house, not having that instruction manual written out for you. And it is in the Bible, it tells you everything. If you find it, you read it, it tells you right there, the kind of man that you should be, for your family, and it's not just, a lot of people think, just the head of the house, but that means a lot more. It goes into a lot more. I mean, it's like the head of that's everything, you're the head of everything that happens, that's kind of, I mean, I don't know. It kind of falls on you, and you're the head of the house, you're the one that leads the family.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that stuff, it's kind of scary to think about. But working together as a family and stuff like that, it makes it to where it's not so much that you're having to deal with all that stuff yourself, or figure that out on your own. You have help. You have, every little kid with their different personalities and everything, they do something that's just random, that's weird, but it like makes you think, and it's like, okay, well, and unfortunately, our oldest, was kind of the crash test dummy, without saying it like that. I mean, and I think, a lot of the learning was with you. I mean, you were like the guinea pig with everything that we were doing, and it's like, so, we're tougher on you, we no, you can't do this because, and then we kind of, as each kid went through, we realized that, okay, well, it didn't really happen this way whenever we did that with Sadie, and so it was a little bit different with each kid, and it got a little bit easier because we learned, and that was a big thing too, is kind of, I guess, just the learning part of get your hands dirty, and figure that out. So, but then too, the grandkids, they have their stuff that's similar, that's the same, and we're like, they got to deal with that, but then there's other things that are like,
I enjoy that part.
There's other things that are like, wow, that, that wasn't really, our kids really didn't do that, and so that's something that you guys have to learn. Your own, it's just, it's a lot different, and just prayer and a lot of prayer.
That's what I find so fortunate about, like, we're at the place that we're at in life, is that, like, we're all in a place right now in life, and we're starting so young. Like, our oldest is 4, and we're learning all this stuff, and we're going through all this stuff as a family, and we're learning a lot of what strongholds are, and breaking generational curses. And so then I think I'm so blessed to be able to do this in my life now. So as they get older, this will just be like second nature to them.
Yeah.
Oh, I built this stronghold. Okay, let me go in my sacred space. Let me go talk to God and let me break that. I don't want that in my life, And so, like, if I find it very fortunate that we're in a season of our lives this young in their lifetime where we can learn that and teach them that as they grow.
I couldn't teach you guys because I didn't understand it myself. And I think as soon as I was able, because God taught me organically through my dreams about generational curses and about strongholds, that I just kind of followed his leading blindly because I didn't even understand what I was doing at first. And I was trying to teach them and trying to teach myself at the same time, which at times falls because you're not really sure how it's going, or it's all a test, But as you move forward, those things that seem so hard become easy because you see them right away and you don't have to guess at them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not things like when your kids are learning how to walk, or when you're first mom and they start crying or doing, and you're trying to figure out, well, how do their sleep patterns work? How do I perform these different tasks? At times, when you first walk into it, it seems like I have to be on the phone with mom 24 hours a day. But then after a while, 4 years in, you're doing it yourself. And that's kind of how Stronghold is. You just, at times, you'll start recognizing them and it won't seem so hard. But every time you go through something like our generational, our sonship to Stronghold course, or Stronghold to sonship course, you see a new generational thing that you have to break, or a stronghold that you have to break. So it's not a one and done thing. It's something that you have to do over and over.
Well, our friend says every single time she goes through this course, God brings up a new stronghold, whether it be years and years ago or something recent that had popped up. So she just says walk into it knowing like each time God will bring something new to the mind, no matter how many times you go through it.
Right. And be open to have people walk you through it. You don't ever want to do it by yourself. You want to have a team of women, or be able to even follow Sadie and I as you're on this podcast, just so you can have a direction on where God's leading. When I did it by myself, I didn't have anyone to even put comments because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anybody. We moved 13 hours just so I could ask questions. And, and I am more than happy that I did, because, now that we're able to move as a family and become closer as a family and break strongholds as a family, it doesn't seem like life's so hard anymore.
And learn as a family.
Yeah.
So what would you say in all of this, your takeaway, or like what's brought up in your mind?
Yeah, I think the learning, especially as a family, it's I guess like Mike had said, like I went to church with my family when I was younger and stuff, but none of it like really ever meant anything to me. Yeah. I guess I didn't really ever feel anything, and also I didn't put in the effort. Just wasn't really interested, I guess. I don't know what my deal was, but now that I am a Christian and I can see these things, or see where God actually was in my life. I can see his hand was over my life, my entire life, and he really looked out for me and protected me. And it kind of makes me think, like, there's definitely a reason why I'm here.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely
why he took care of me. Yeah. But just from all the years of learning things about God when I was younger, just compared to what I've learned since moving here and since knowing you guys, has been insane. Like, doors have opened that I've never thought were even possible, or like never thought that they even were doors. I've just learned things that blow my mind, that most Christians or most people don't even talk about or don't even recognize as they could be related to God. And so that's been a lot for me, is just learning, trying to soak everything in.
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing that, like with me, I mean, like I said, I've been going to church for so many years, and it's just I've kind of been in that, go through the motions type of Christianity of, I go to church, and I'm involved. I'm on the worship team and I
It's all takes.
volunteer and stuff, but it's all works. I mean, it's not that personal relationship that you need to have to, to learn some of this stuff. And as far as the family and stuff goes, I mean, that's another thing, like what you were talking about with the community of women to help you along with this stuff. Man, it would have been awesome if we would have had the knowledge that we have now, or even, somebody that was able to show us back then whenever we, had 4-year-old kids and stuff to teach us this stuff that we're all learning now, so that way as they're getting in their teenage years, we, have that and we can teach them then instead of me just going through the motions as a Christian. And then it's like, okay, well, we go to church, we do this. And
I also think when you're not in a place or like a church that there is a lot of people who don't also go through the motions, or there's not a lot of like what we have here where there's just like people who like walk out the Bible and they know that they have the knowledge of strongholds, have the knowledge of generational curses. Like you see healings, and so you see that they believe that the Bible from back then is the Bible that's currently now.
Right.
Like and you walk in an environment like that, you start to believe that kind of stuff. But growing up, I never seen people around me be like that. And a lot of the times I would see people just put on this public front and they'd be a different way. And then you kind of just think, well, I mean, most of these people, these church people are all like that. So why?
Right. And when I started asking about identity, it was a big deal. I was trying to figure out who God created me to be, what it actually meant. But I realized the more I started bringing it up, the more offended people started getting. And I was trying to figure out, I don't understand why you guys are so offended by me talking about this, because this is important. You want to know who you are in God's eyes. You want to know the things that God is, that you're the apple of his eye. You want to know how to connect with them. These are important things. But it really upset the congregation. I mean, different people that you would talk to, they would get defensive and they would start acting like you were saying things that were off-putting. And I'm trying to figure it out because I'm not trying to offend anybody. But I mean, how do you learn when you can't ask questions?
Well, I just feel like it's like a lot of the religious spirit that we were learning during that time. And I was reading, I was reading in the Bible when, like, I guess Christians, like in Acts, were when Christians started to become, I guess, like Christians, and it wasn't so religious based, and there was like Peter and like Simon and all them, and they would get so mad because they were actually walking in identity and stuff that they would take them out of the city and stone them, and so like that reminded me a lot of that time was like people don't even, it's like people get mad when you start to learn who you are in God.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that because I wanted everybody to know when I found out, when God started showing me who I was acting like the older brother on the prodigal. And I stayed, but I didn't know why I stayed. I didn't know how the Father felt about me. I just know I was in church when everybody left and I was going to continue to stay, whether he loved me or not, and that's how I felt. It could be a one-sided conversation or a one-sided love. And I was okay with that. But then when I found out that he loved me as well, and that he was good, and that he takes care of me, and he's invested in my heart, and he doesn't want me to be treated bad, and he doesn't want me to walk around, and these certain strongholds that I had that I felt like I was unworthy. And he was over here saying, daughter, you're not worthy. Let's give you a new name, And I wanted the whole world to know about that. But I couldn't talk about it, which offended me because I'm like, I don't want to talk about this stuff, So I started a podcast so I could talk about this stuff. That's how you solve that problem. But yeah. So what's the next question, Sadie?
Well, I mean, what is your guys' mindsets? Or like, what would you say had been, I mean, as deep as you want to go, like what is a stronghold that in this process of walking through understanding strongholds was something that you realized that you had when you didn't? Because when me and Mom were going through, and we're still doing it, I mean, there was a lot of stuff we'd come together and be like, I did not know about this.
Yeah.
And I do not want my child to go through this. And then we'd pray, is it generational? Is it not generational? Is this something that we've built ourselves? And like,
Well, I remember when Dad and I first started talking about the generational curses, and we went to walk the dinosaur park. And I was generally curious, how does this work? I mean, do we start with black cats? I mean, what do we start with? Where does this, because his mom used to say, when the black cat crossed the road, and, and so in my mind, that's where I went. And so he decided that he needed to find out too. So it was a conversation, it's at least a conversation that you need to have. And not everybody really understands, well, where does generational curses come in and how do they work from the fourth generation? But the way God explained it to me, it was like a recipe that we don't even understand, where the ingredients come from. We have no idea where the ingredients come from. But from generation to generation, we add the same ingredients over and over and over. And if you ask somebody from way back then, it's maybe just something that got knocked off the shelf and landed in there. And then grandma's like, oh, well, we're going to do like this forever, and then each generation just keeps doing the same recipe, but they have no idea how it got there. They don't know what the story is behind it, but they pass it down. It's a generational recipe that they put in the recipe book. And so generational curses at some point begin to work like that, because they're just things that we do and have absolutely no reason why we do them. Why do we have a problem with alcoholism? Why do we watch pornography? Why, nobody has a reason for it, or where did the root come from, or why, but at some point, if we begin to uproot some of this stuff and just start renouncing it and walking away from it, I thought we rebuke everything. If you don't know what it is, you just rebuke it. But that's not how we approach generational curses. That's not how we approach strongholds. We approach it as just stepping out of agreement with it, because we walk into agreement with it. At some point, we have to step out of agreement with it. And
one of the things that really shocked me when learning this process was when they say coming out of agreement, but you also have to repent for that. And I didn't even, but that is such an important step in all this, is repentance, because you have to bring to God and you have to come before God and say, like, I'm sorry that I participated in this. I'm sorry that I believed this, and this became part of my identity. Like, I invited that, and I didn't even recognize the importance of repentance when this all started.
Yeah,
because people talk about repentance, but then I'm like, what are you telling me? Like it just sounds
am
like
I bad?
am I
bad? Dirty? Yeah, I know. I thought that too for a long time, and then God just started showing me it's just a redirection. I just want you to change the way you're thinking about it. That's it. If you will walk into repentance as just working with me on the direction that you're going and have a relationship with me, then we can work on that together. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to become something dirty.
It's like you're talking about generational curses and stuff like that, and your past family. I didn't really know my grandparents. My grandma was the only one that was alive that I kind of knew, and even at that, we'd hear some stories and stuff like that every once in a while. But my grandpa or my mom's parents were, they'd passed away before I was born. My grandpa, my dad's dad, had passed away before I was born. So I didn't know anything really about their side of the family other than little bits and pieces you'd hear every once in a while. And so it's like, how do I deal with some of the stuff that I have no idea who these people are? I don't know anything about them. I don't know what their life was like. I hear, like I said, little stories about this and that, but it's like, where do you even start with some of that? It's like, I don't know. I know that this is probably something that was passed down, but I didn't know these people. How does what they did, what their parents did, affect me in my life and stuff like that? And that's just it. That's just some of those curses that go down through the DNA, through the, and you think, you get born again, you get a new identity, you get, a new DNA, you have God's blood flowing through you, and it's like, this is my identity. This is my bloodstream now. That stuff from the past, the DNA from the past is, yes, they're physically, in a physical sense, you know, they were my grandparents, you know, but that's not my DNA. That's not mine, you know, and even like I said, the spiritual part of the generational curses and stuff like that it's crazy to me how that stuff sticks on, you know, and still goes, even though I've been baptized, I've been washed clean, I've been, you know, born again, I have new blood, you know, it's like some of this stuff is, I don't know, it's just.
Well, it's a brain thing.
Right.
You know, it has to do with the way your brain was wired and how you believe. Just like Sadie was saying a while back that, you know, about this being controlling or having panic attacks. You know, those things are built into you as a child.
Well, even like we were talking in the car the other day, and we were talking about how you said that you, like, with these certain strongholds of like anger and stuff, that you were asking God about where a lot of this comes from. Like, you can say more on that, but
Yeah.
it was like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a deep-rooted one that I've seen in not only in like my father, but in my grandfather, and I know my great grandparents on both sides, or even past that, come from some pretty dark history, a part of like some dark groups, you know, around like World War era. You guys can put the rest together, but yeah. So I feel like God was really revealing that to me, that it's deep, like it runs deep in my family, and it's been passed down heavily without stop, and it needs to stop here.
Right.
Like, it can't carry on to my son or my daughter.
Yeah, and it's like with my family too, you know. I mean, it's I know it's like the curses and stuff are usually within 4 generations, but even at that, I mean, it could be a curse that I think goes down even to that last generation, and because they have that stronghold of anger or murder or, you know, fear or whatever that they have in them, you know, that can go beyond that, you know, to however many generations down the line, that, you know. And you know, my family, you know, the Spaniards, you know, it's just a big, they're, you know, my name, my family, you know, we've all been, you know, real proud to have that Garcia name, and we all have attitude, and there's a fight in all of us, and we're all competitive, and it's like, that's us. Yes, that's our name. That's Garcia's. And that's, you know, the some of the angry fighting, and it's like, yes, because they're Garcia's. And, you know, it's just some of that stuff, and it's like that, you know, you just grow up being in that, and it's like, yes, that is us, you know, that's what we do. We fight, and we, you know, conquer, you know, the Spaniards, you know, and this is kind of what we do. And it becomes something that it sounds good at the moment, like, you know, oh yeah, I'm proud of that, you know, I'm proud to be, you know, a fighter and stuff like that. But that's the kind of stuff that turns your thinking and turns that stronghold into something that, you know, eventually you have to deal with and get rid of, because then it you know, spills into your marriage, it spills into your family, and you're still over here, oh, I'm a conqueror, I conquer you, and, you know, it screws things up, you know, and it doesn't look good, because then your kids see that, and then they come on with this whole, you know, attitude stuff too. They see their family members and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just who we are, you know. And same thing with I think another big stronghold thing for me has always been with our relationship and our marriage, you know. And a big thing is the pants. Who wears the pants, you know? And that's always been in my family something that more the women have kind of taken over, you know, and again, another stronghold on their side, because they didn't want to let the men, you know, control them and do that kind of stuff. And so me, you know, I always saw that, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen in my marriage, you know, my family. I'm going to wear the pants. And that's always been a big thing. And that's caused a lot of problems with us, you know, and it's not until, you know, here, especially lately, I mean, I've caught onto some of this stuff before, but never really paid enough attention to it to make a change, to make a difference, to where it's like, I don't need that. I need this to be us. And we both wear the pants, you know, we can both fit into those pants, you know.
Two pant legs.
I saw that from
My personality is not even about wearing the pants, but yes, we both can wear the pants.
Well, I seen it from like where you're like, I'm gonna get pants in mine, but then I've also seen, you know, the women you're talking about where they're like, I'm gonna control my husband. And so going into marriage, it was confusing because then I saw this one, you know, this part of you that was like very more like with that Garcia, I'm the pants. And then I was like, well, I'm not gonna let my husband treat me like that. I don't want him to have like control over me. And then there was the women's part, but then I was like, I seen how kind of sour that's looked. And so it was like, what do I do? And naturally, because of generational curses and stuff, I fell into the more, okay, well, I'm going to be the controlling one. And he has a very more passive personality. And so it was very easy. He was okay with it. I mean, there was not a lot of structure in his life growing up. So he was, as long as there was some sort of structure, he was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very much of speaking, but it also, it robbed, that sort of mindset robbed us of being able to fall into leadership roles that God had given us. And it was like, we were robbing our own selves because like where we are now, we're in that like father chain, like God, and the husband and the mom and the kids, like it feels freeing. It feels right. Like I feel myself stepping more into like such a feminine like role,
Right.
versus some sort of masculine, like controlling role. And then I've seen it a lot on him, how just more confident he is. And I don't know, like I've seen it from both sides, but it didn't matter which side it was because it wasn't about the person. It was just the spirit behind that.
Well, even with that, not, you know, with both wearing the pant legs, because my personality is not really, I'm going to take over you. I'm very, very happy with snuggling right underneath him. But the thing that has been very evident to me lately with breaking some of this stuff is that he's happy and he treats me like a queen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the crown on his head and the things, you know, and he he shows, yes, and he shows us that he wants us around, you know, and he asks for help. And that's big because, you know, he's very good at taking care of me, but yet he doesn't like asking for help. But lately, and I know that, so I get, you know, and I'm going to wear the other pant leg and I'm going to start helping him, you know, and I'm going to make him let me help him. And, you know, and that doesn't work because he still wants, and I don't want to do that. And he still wants to take care of me. Mm-hmm. So when he asks me for help, then I know where to step and what to do.
And that's with more of the, like you were talking about those roles, you know, and that's something that didn't help me. Was I'd kind of sort of take the Bible not out of context necessarily, but I'd look at that, oh, the man's the head of the household, you know, and I'd pay attention to that part, but then I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to the part of where, you know, husbands, you're supposed to love your wife like Christ loves the church. And so I was leading my whole family and dragging them in the dirt while I was doing that. And they were getting more dirty and more, you know, worn out and stuff like that as I was pulling them through and trying to force my way through. And I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, to what I was saying, I was just thinking in my own head, it's like, oh, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, the Bible says I'm supposed to lead my family. I'm supposed to make decisions. I'm supposed to guard them and guide them. And I wasn't doing that. You know, it was destroying, you know, relationships and stuff like this. And, oh, wow, I didn't really see some of that stuff, you know, but I need help, you know, and I can't, I must lead. I have to lead.
Yeah.
But it's not the way that necessarily I thought that I was supposed to. It's not by tearing down my wife. It's by treating her like a queen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know.
I could snuggle into that real quick.
Well, and that's like our friend also. She also said, she said that she was speaking at this church event and her name was hung up and it was like Miss, like so her last name. And then this person was talking to her, and then the husband goes up and he's like, I'm Mr. So-and-so, which was like what her name was.
Right.
And she felt like kind of hurt for a minute. And then she said that she then took a step back later on and she was like, did I hurt your feelings by, you know, being the one speaking here and not you? And he's like, no, I'm proud. I want people to know that I'm Mr. This. And she's like, I would go around to tell everybody that I was Mr. This. And she said, then it made her feel like the crown on his head. because she didn't feel like she was competing. She felt like he was proud of her, and she got
Yeah.
to just be somebody that he adored, and he got to be proud of. And I just like, I love that.
I love that.
I love
too.
that.
That image stuck in my head a lot.
I think that's been kind of cool here too, because it's, you know, with us, it's like, seems like everywhere we go, a lot of the churches that we'd go to and stuff like that, I'd be the one to jump in and try to help with this and do that. And so with her, you know, a lot of the people would be like, oh, that's, you know, Mike's wife, you know, that's Mike's wife. And then here, it's like she's made all these different friends and stuff like that. And so now they're like, oh, that's Lois's husband. It's like, yeah, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I think for me, it was honestly kind of the opposite. I dealt with, or I guess I would say a stronghold that was in my life really heavily was complacency and laziness. Like I was just lazy in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally. I just was like the guy who's just like, yeah, I'll do whatever, I'll just hang out.
But I
Which
don't
I'm
think
still.
I think that was the stronghold was from a different place though, because you didn't get to have a normal child's childhood.
Yeah.
Like you had to grow up a lot.
Excuses.
I know, just you had to grow up a lot sooner than you thought you would, or that you were supposed to. So when you got into a safe place in life, it was like, okay, I can breathe. I can sit in the safety net.
But also how unfair to a wife who wasn't prepared for that and children who weren't prepared for that. Especially for kids who didn't ask to be there, you know what I mean? But I mean, I feel like that's really been dealt with. And I think something that really helped me deal with that, as stupid as it sounds, was the Fire Academy.
I don't think that sounds stupid at all. I think we should probably put a lot of more people through that experience.
Well, I mean, I had a lot of other things riding on that too. I mean, I've had hopped around so many jobs, and I just was known for like quitting things earlier. As soon as something started getting remotely tough, I'd quit. And I mean, that I felt in my head that Fire Academy was like my last stop before I couldn't do that anymore. And so I had to stick it out, and that place broke me down so hard physically, so hard mentally, and humbled me in so many more ways than I could even talk about. And literally I was probably at my lowest point ever every single day there. I wanted to quit more than anything. I wanted to give up. But I think God really met me in that low point and was like, this is where we rebuild. And now you're going to be a leader. I'm going to show you how to be strong when you feel like you can't be strong. I'm going to show you how hard you can actually be pushed without, like, there's no end to it. Like, you can do way more than you think you can.
Right.
And I think that totally reshaped my mind.
And that was awesome. You could see that, you can see that shift, that change, and it's crazy. It's awesome.
I appreciate it.
I think it's weird because it's almost like me and you are cut from the same cloth, because that's how I am. I mean, I relate to you so much because I am very big on, I can be complacent, I can hide, I'm very fine with my life. I never pursued writing, even though I knew that's where God had me. I never pursued teaching, even though I had a strong desire to teach, because I was so afraid of failing before I even got to where I was going. I figured it was just better if I quit before somebody could say, oh, you failed at that too. Yeah. And I thought that was just the way it was supposed to be, or keeping myself safe. It wasn't until God showed me that I cannot fulfill my destiny if I continue that way, that I've got to give it to Him and realize that I can't do it, but He can. And even if it doesn't look right, it's a process of learning and moving through it. But I've learned that by watching you as well. Thanks. And we've kind of crawled out of this little stronghold together, I think. I've really enjoyed that.
I agree. And you're an awesome man. You're an awesome dad.
I'm a very proud mother-in-law. He makes me happy. But I think we've learned a lot. And if you guys have come along beside us, then I'm hoping that you're grabbing little treasures from all of this, and you take what we have had to learn the hard way, and you tuck it in, and you ask God, how do I learn this without going through so much? But if you are on the other side of the coin and you've already been like me 43 years in and just learning how to break some of these strongholds, don't give up. we leave comments, talk to us, let us know where you guys are at, and we'll get back. We'll comment back, and we'll be able to get back with you guys that way.
And if you're looking for other places to find us, we have our social links in the description, so you can go to our Instagrams and DM us there. We'll see those almost instantly.
Right, and we'd love to pray with you. This place is a safe place, and we're building a community. That's why we're doing this. We're wanting to empower women to be able to walk this path without feeling helpless and find the tools that they need to rescue their families. Though it's not just about us, God, it's about God as well, but He empowered us to take the hard steps, to make the hard decisions for our family. And so it's up to us to rescue our family, because we are the hands and feet of God. And so we're not taking that out of His hands, but we are being able to be His hands and feet in that area. But did you have something to say before we close? No? Okay. But we just wanted to love you guys, and we will be back next week. Just Sadie and I. We love you. Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.